Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more. I'm your host, Emma Capotis. What is up, fam? Welcome to a solo episode, you guys. I'm very excited for this today because we just need to have a conversation. We're going to chat a little bit about some hot topics in the rave scene and community, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and stories as well as reading some submissions from our listeners. And today we are going to be talking all about PLUR because this seems to be a little bit of a controversial topic right now, or a very hot topic. And I just wanted to talk about what I think the state of PLUR is right now, how we can kind of find and embody more of it, and then just share a couple stories. But before we go any further, I want to share a quick message from today's sponsor, Keen. So if some of you guys have been looking for certain answers or for guidance on things like love, career, relationships, finances, health, whatever it is that you're looking for more information on, Keen is a platform that you can use to connect with hundreds of experienced readers, both via chat or by phone call, whichever you prefer. You guys can use my link, trykeen.com/RCC, to get your first 10 minutes of your reading for only $1.99, which can be up to $99 in savings. So again, you can go on there, browse through. They have psychic readers, tarot readers, healers, mediums, angel readers, whatever you guys are into. You can rank them by their rating, pricing, all that good stuff. So find what you're looking for, get the answers and guidance that you need, maybe try out a couple different people, and let me know what you guys think of Keen. Again, go to trykeen.com/RCC to get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99. All of that will be linked down below, fam. All right, before we dive in here, really quickly, I am looking for your submissions. We finally are bringing back listener submitted episodes, which I love to see. So this was a topic that I had on the podcast a couple years ago, about 3 years ago now. But I talked about navigating relationships where your partner is not into raving or going to music festivals, which is currently, how I do it with my husband. He is not into raves or festivals. So I just found that this topic was coming up a little bit again, and I did a post on my Instagram on Valentine's Day talking a little bit about it, and it really resonated with you guys. So I want to bring this topic back and talk about it again. So if you have any questions, or you're looking for advice, or you just simply want to share your own stories and experiences of what it's like having either a partner or a friendship where you do not share the same hobby, ask away or let me know what your experiences were like. I'm going to talk about how my husband and I have navigated it because obviously, as you guys know, I'm heavily involved in the scene and he is heavily not involved in the scene, and we have made it work and found balance and compromise, and I know it can be difficult for a lot of people. So navigating relationships where your partner or your friend does not share the same hobby of raving and festivals is the topic. Email raveculturecast@gmail.com to submit your stories or questions. Again, raveculturecast@gmail.com. Send them on in, guys, and we will have a whole episode talking about that. Alrighty, a little bit of a longer intro today, but that's what happens with the solo episodes. So, y'all, I cannot make this up when I say I was just recording for 9 minutes, and it was such a good tangent. I was so passionate, and I wasn't recording on my microphone. So I have to redo all of that right now and create it with the exact same passion I just had. But let's start this over. Oh my God. Okay. So to kick things off, I'm so mad right now. Fuck. I literally just recorded like almost 10 minutes of content and did not have my microphone on. Mistakes happen, guys. It happens all the time. But I kind of identified 4 different types of people when it comes to PLUR. So there's a person who really believes in it, I would say like embodies it, definitely just like is all about PLUR. Then there's a person who feels neutral about it, like maybe they participate and they're cool with it, but they're not like super gung-ho, they feel pretty neutral. The third person is like they roll their eyes when they hear the term, they're not into it at all, maybe they think it's cheesy, overdone, whatever. And then the fourth person doesn't even know it exists. Like they might be so new to the scene, they might have no clue at all, but like if you say PLUR, they're like, what the fuck does that mean? So let's start there. PLUR is a mantra that a lot of ravers embody that was created in the 90s. It stands for peace, love, unity, and respect. And for me, I personally just resonated a lot with this term because when I go to festivals and raves and shows and things like that, like I found a sense of community. So for me, peace obviously is a huge word, just like being in a situation where you all feel like at ease, there's no issues with other people around you, like there's no reason to get like violent or upset or aggressive, like we're here to have a good time, we have a common goal. Love is an easy one too, just loving yourself, loving the other people around you, like they may be strangers technically, but you know how it is. Like you have so many different interactions throughout the night. You might make best friends for the night that you never see again, but you can kind of like love the people around you. And it's just a really beautiful feeling that I think a lot of us have experienced. And then unity and respect, like, again, we're all here for a common goal. Like we're here to have a good time. We're here to enjoy the artists and the music that we're there to see and have this like connection with each other, with the environment, with everything going on. And then our respect is a huge one for me. I'm very big on this one, but not only should you be respecting the people around you and their space, respecting yourself, consent is a huge thing, but respecting the artists, the venue, the environment, the staff, like all of that encompasses PLUR to me personally. So I very much resonate with the mantra, and it was such a huge reason for me starting my channel, which I'll get into in a little bit, but it was a really, really big thing for me. So in today's episode, I kind of wanted to, start off with a little spoiler alert, but no, I don't think PLUR is gone. I don't think it's gone anywhere. I just think that, there's a lot of new people coming into the scene right now. Social media plays a huge role in everything going on, but if you are feeling right now like you're going to all these events and you're just having bad experiences, or maybe you feel like the community is shifting, I can say a couple areas that might be going wrong. You could be going to the wrong types of events or having trouble navigating them. You could definitely be surrounding yourself with the wrong people, the wrong crowd. You could be following the wrong people on social media, which is a huge thing. Or you may not know quite yet how to like participate in the culture and how to like truly find PLUR around you. So I'm going to be addressing all of those things today, but I will just say I do think the rave community has changed over time, like with anything. Like when I first started going to shows in 2011 to now, like of course, like with any industry, things are going to change and evolve and be different, but I can attest to, and I'm sure a lot of you agree, how many amazing people there are in this community. I've had the most beautiful experiences, even in 2022, some of my highest moments at festivals and raves. And so I think you just need to know like exactly how to find them. So I wanted to start off by sharing how I discovered PLUR and give you guys a little bit of a background in case you're new here or new to this podcast. But I'm putting this out there. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. My intentions when I first started going to shows in college, obviously did not know much about the culture, didn't really care about that. Like I was partying. I was in college in 2009 to 2013. Very lucky time because like EDM was booming. That was like Avicii and Skrillex and Swedish House Mafia and Calvin Harris. Like it was like the EDM bubble that everyone is so nostalgic about. So it was such a fun time to like fall in love with that music and start going to shows and doing things. But again, like I didn't know what rave culture was. I didn't know what PLUR was. Like I was going there to have fun and like do whatever and enjoy myself. So one thing I will say with social media and with things like TikTok, there are so many creators right now talking about the rave scene and talking about PLUR, which I think can be helpful because there's so many more ways to learn about it versus like when I was in college, none of that shit was online. You know what I mean? Like it was much, much harder to like learn about this community and figure these things out. So that is really cool. And even being a content creator in this space since I posted my first YouTube video in 2017, there were no tips and advice videos. Like it was very far and few in between. I watched every single EDC Las Vegas tips video that like existed on YouTube, which is why I started my own channel, because I felt like there was a void in rave content on YouTube. So seeing how it is now at least gives me hope, because I'm like, there's so many more people talking about it. So it is really accessible, which is cool. But one thing I thought about is when we're talking about bringing people into the community, when we're talking about educating them on PLUR, there has to be a combination of people who are curious enough about it combined with people who are willing to teach and embody PLUR and lead by example. So if we're talking about people who, you know, might be in their teenage years, early 20s, who are going there to get fucked up and have a good time, and they're going to fall out of the scene in a year, they may not be curious. They may not care. Like, those aren't the people that we're trying to reach here. It's the people who are actually like curious and want to learn, and people like me who discovered EDC Las Vegas and had all these amazing moments and then started figuring things out. So I personally accredit obviously a lot of it to Vegas, because that was the catalyst for me to take it more seriously and not just be like, oh, I'm just going to shows for fun. That's when I was like, oh, this is like it for me. Like, this is my passion. These are my people. This is my community. And it was the Under the Electric Sky documentary. If you haven't watched that yet, it's the EDC documentary that came out in like 2013. That was also a huge catalyst for me, because it followed all these different types of ravers going to EDC that year. And I just learned more about like candy culture. I just saw how like deep people were into it. There's like the rave couple who gets married at EDC. And that was my first time being like, holy shit, like parents are still doing this. Like, it was just an eye-opening documentary for me. And it became a tradition. I watched that every single year, and I would make candy for EDC. And it was just like such a big thing for me. So there has to kind of like be that active participation from people. And like some people are going to feel it and some people aren't. And that's kind of like what I want to continue to share with other people. But kind of where we're at today, diving into our next topic, talking about the types of events that you're going to. So if you're struggling right now, I was actually just rewatching some of Gesture's YouTube series that he does, like Making Ravers Rich, where he does EDM trivia, running around like different festivals, and he'll give you $1 if you get the answer right. Very fucking funny. And I was watching them, and a lot of them are obviously at the Nas Center, which is in San Bernardino in California. I have still not gone to a show out there, guys, and I know I need to experience it, and I will one day. But I'm watching this video, and the lack of knowledge that people have is very fucking scary. But at this, like, one of his questions was, do you know what PLUR stands for? And so many people were like gone, like, on so much Molly, like they're there to get fucked up and have a good time. Like, we're like, don't even know what that means. So this is like the type of thing we're dealing with. So if that's like the kind of crowd you're around, a type of shows you're going to, like, that's number one. If you're going to super popular mainstream EDM festivals that might be surrounded by holidays, like Escape, like Countdown, like different things like that, you are obviously going to have a lot of people coming for their first event. It's like a gateway festival. It's their entryway in. So I, again, like, can't discredit certain people because they don't know what they don't know. And you're obviously not going to have this entirely like PLUR woke crowd, right? Like, if you go to maybe like a Halloween or something like that, or an Electric Forest, that's a little bit more, I guess you could say, like, open-minded. It's a camping festival. Maybe you have like different genres represented there, like jam band culture and things like that. Like, people are a little bit more chill and kind of like open-minded about things. It's going to be a totally fucking different crowd. So the crowd and the type of event you're going to plays a huge role here. So if you live in Southern California and that's all you're exposed to, of course you're going to be online saying like, PLUR is gone. We need to get out of that bubble. So we're going to talk about that. I have also had this experience going to shows like at the Brooklyn Mirage. When I go to like an Alesso, for example, I brought my husband to that, and he like never goes to shows with me and did not go the best, because Alesso is a major artist. A lot of people who are not in the EDM community are just going to buy tickets to go see him because they recognize his name. And of course, we dealt with like a lot of like drunk heckler, like fucked up people at that show that kind of like ruined the experience. So it's hard. There are ways to navigate this, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but you can get like notoriously bad crowds depending on the type of event. So I always try to look for my people, for my PLUR people at these events. Changing where you're standing is huge, guys. I'm a big proponent of this. Go to the freaking back. Don't go all the way front and center. You couldn't catch me dead front and center. Like, absolutely fucking not. That's where like Chads and Brads are going to be, and I'm not about that life. So I'm going to be in the back or on the sides of the crowd where you have like way more space. I think having space is a huge thing. Look for people who give off good energy. I feel like you can just tell who's smiling and having fun. People who are like fanning other people through the crowd. Like, they just kind of emit good vibes. Like, those are the people you try to become friendly with throughout the night. I've made plenty of friends that way at shows. Like, me and my friend Tara would just go to shows, just the two of us for a while in the city. And we would, get nervous sometimes because we're just like, two girls going to a show, and we would make friends with the people around us. And then we would hold each other's spots. When someone had to use the bathroom, we would be like, no, go ahead. Like, we're going to hold your spot so you can come right back here. So it is good to like become friends with the people around you and find your people. So that's the number one thing I want to talk about. The type of event you're going to. If you really feel like you're ready to get past that scene, I would recommend going to different types of shows, traveling, going to transformational festivals, camping festivals. Like, the vibes are going to shift depending on the type of show you're going to. Maybe go to a smaller like boutique camping festival. So definitely different vibes, like wherever you guys are going to go. Surrounding yourself with the wrong people obviously is a big one. Think about the intentions that your group or your friends have when they're going. Again, if you're younger, it just is what it is. Like, and if people are all going out to like party and have a good time, but you really are interested in the culture, like maybe you can kind of like go outside your group a little bit at the next show and kind of like branch out and do your own thing, or kind of like separate for a little bit and just go explore. Highly recommend doing that. Just be safe. So think about that. Like, who are you around with? Is there a way you can expand your friend group so that you can kind of find the people who are really there for the music versus the people who are there to just like get fucked up? And then the third thing I just wanted to bring up with you guys is the people that you follow online. Like, this is a huge thing for me. And I've like unfollowed people in all different kinds of categories if I just don't think it is good for my mental health, or it's not adding to my life or adding to my feed. Like, you can tell energy even through a phone. So think about the people you follow online. Like, what are their intentions? What kind of content do they put out? Do you get good energy from them, or do you get bad energy? Do you hate follow people? Like, those are all things to think about. What sits with you, the type of music you listen to, like everything that you take in, the movies you watch, the TV shows you watch. Like, I am, obviously very connected on like the spiritual side of things. And I remember doing a tarot reading, and they talked about like doing an audit of like what shows you're watching and what music you're listening to, and how much it like really, really changes your energy. And I think I was watching like a lot of true crime TV shows at the time, which were like very disturbing and scary. And I was like, honestly, you know what? I don't really know what that adds to my life. And I do agree, it's like puts you in a very like weird mood. And I just made like little shifts about what I'm actually consuming. And I can tell you, like, I'm in the best place mentally, physically, spiritually that I've been like in my life. And I credit it a lot to like protecting my energy and putting myself first and being like really, really discerning about all of these things. So again, the people that you follow, like if they're just super negative all the time, like don't follow them. You don't need to do that. Like, it also goes for your behaviors online. Like, how do you treat other people? What kind of comments do you leave on people's, posts and things like that? I get things all the time, and I'm lucky that I have thick skin, but people can just be like mean for no reason. And so, people can just put PLUR and preach PLUR, but if they're not actually really about it or embodying it or doing anything to contribute to the scene, I just think that that's something to consider as well. And I'm happy to give you guys like a list of creators and stuff that I think have like dedicated their time and energy into making this a really, really good space, because there are so many people out there. I can't stress this enough. Again, if you're feeling hopeless or you feel like you don't know the right people to go to, like there are plenty of people keeping PLUR alive in this scene. So kind of like my final thoughts wrapping up before I get into your feedback. It is definitely not gone. It's definitely not going anywhere. The scene is, of course, changing, but there are so many people out there who are amazing. And again, I think a lot of happy people just aren't online. Like they're not out, you know what I mean? Like they're just not out there like commenting and leaving like obviously like controversial thoughts and stuff like that. Like they're just living their life, having a good time, and you'll find them in person. So we just got to do our best to keep it alive. Don't get discouraged. Like I said, like sometimes it's just where you are in your life. And again, where I'm at now, turning 32 to where I was when I entered the scene when I was 22, like it's a completely different fucking experience. My friends have changed. Some of my friends have grown out of the scene, and I've found my rave fam who I can still like do all these amazing things with in my 30s, and it's a totally different experience. But like, man, there are just so many beautiful people, and I've had the most incredible interactions in this past year. So I just don't want you guys to get discouraged because it's very, very much alive and well. And like I mentioned, I think I didn't really touch on this too much in this episode. I think I did it in my previous PLUR episode, but just finding ways to embody PLUR in your real life and also in festival life. Like, again, saying excuse me, bringing gifts and fun little things to give out to people and make them feel better, like checking on someone if they look like they're not having a good time, you know, going up to someone and trading them candy, like all these like little things. I hand out wet wipes at the bathroom stalls because everyone's always like in a mood when they're like out of their mind when they're on the porta potty lines. And I always like, I did this at EDC Orlando. There was somebody standing next to me who I think was like just coming up, or like something was going on, and I could tell like they were definitely like in their head and they were very like jittery and anxious. And I just looked at them and I was like, here's a wet wipe. And I just started a conversation, and I could tell it like calmed their nerves down like instantly. So do that for other people. Like just be there for other people and look out for other people. Yeah, you will find your people. I promise that. So that is everything, guys. Let's dive into our listener feedback. I think we have a couple emails here. So this first one is from Julian. They said, hi, I just wanted to preface this by saying that I have been a part of the rave scene since about 2006, and things have changed a lot. I do think PLUR still exists, but in different ways. When I first started raving, there was a lot more physical touching, sharing of drugs and water bottles, etc. The PLUR that I knew then was in candy and treating everyone like they were your best friend your whole life. Not a bad thing, but it did have a problematic underbelly. Men taking advantage of young women and girls under the guise of PLUR, lack of drug and personal safety, etc. Today, the candy ravers are still there. PLUR isn't talked about nearly as much. With the change in EDM in the past 10 to 15 years, especially since we got things like bro step and the like, I feel like we are missing the aspect of peace. People being drawn into mosh pits that don't want to be, aggressive attitudes on the dance floor, and mostly the level of theft and lack of safety feelings really takes away PLUR for me. However, I do see aspects of PLUR that were never a part of the scene that are so important. Consent workshops, drug testing, harm reduction, sober spaces are all very PLUR to me. I try to keep PLUR alive by educating the people I meet about it when I give them candy, by speaking out against the behaviors that have tarnished our scene, and holding those accountable for their actions. In my daily life, I try to keep the basis of PLUR going by assuming the best of people. Seems like a simple concept, but all too often we let our instant judgments determine what sorts of people they are to us that we don't know anyone's story. Be kind, be respectful, be inclusive. That is beautiful. I love that. Thank you for pointing out very specific instances, because I think it is really, really eye-opening to talk about how the scene was to where it is now, because 2006 was even before my time as well. So I agree with you. Like I said, there being more education now, like there is a huge emphasis on harm reduction right now, which is a very, very big thing. There are organizations doing consent workshops. There's more and more workshops at festivals being held. So, and like sober spaces, Oasis, ground control, like all that stuff that's going on. So I agree with you. Like there are so many steps in the right direction. And of course, to your point, there's so much theft. There's so many other things going on. So definitely more of like a see something, say something type of culture. And that's where it comes back into PLUR of respecting others and keeping the peace and unity. Like keep an eye on the people around you. Like if somebody's having a problem or an issue with someone, like it is important to look out for each other even if you don't know them. So this next one is from Gail. It says, does PLUR still exist? Absolutely. The only time I've ever had experiences that weren't PLUR was when I first started raving and I hadn't learned it yet. I was the person not being PLUR, and it was at a smaller local show. I live in a city that used to host a festival, and since it's been canceled, there's been a lot of smaller local shows where the crowd is saturated with people who haven't experienced anything other than a local show. So how do you keep PLUR alive? I try to teach people that I interact with a little bit about it, even if it's as small as trading candy or fanning them. It teaches newbies that the community cares for each other. I also have no shame in being the one in the room who's doing these things because it draws attention to it, and that's what we want to do. How do you carry PLUR into your daily life? I try to remember to have patience and be kind to everyone. I work in retail, and one of the biggest things I do is try to encourage every person I see to just go for it. Wear the outfit if you feel good, even if you think you're too old or this or that. If a little boy asks me if he can wear feminine jewelry, I tell him yes. If it makes you happy, wear it. It's little things that I try to my best to spread little pieces of positivity in every interaction. Essentially, be the you that you are at raves and festivals. Love that. Great examples of how to bring that into real life too. This one's from Peter. It says, best wishes to you, Brian and Ollie, during these cold months. Thank you so much. I have also seen a lot of discourse recently about PLUR being dead. And while I don't think it's completely dead, it is definitely not alive as it once was. Back when you and I first joined the scene, it was a lot more niche, and really the only people involved with it were diehard fans who kept the values of the community at heart, PLUR being one of them. Now that we have a scene that is much more mainstream and it attracts many people who haven't heard of PLUR and are just there to party, it seems to be a bit more dead. I hate to be the person that's like, now that EDM is mainstream, PLUR is dead, because there are also definitely benefits to our community being more mainstream as well. The biggest one in my mind is that the incredible music that is truly life-changing is reaching more people than it ever was, and our favorite artists are getting much more deserved exposure. I think of someone like Illenium or Flume, who 7 or 8 years ago were just SoundCloud DJs, now being some of the biggest artists in the world. But at the same time, in the past year or so, I've had multiple negative experiences with people at shows who clearly just did not know about PLUR and the values of the rave community. I had someone say to me in a condescending way, wow, look at you, all nice and warm with your gloves and scarf, about my pashmina and LED flow gloves. I was wearing a crystal at a Chris Lake show, and someone said to me, bro, is that Molly on your necklace? Are you rolling right now? Then him and his friend laughed. And don't even get me started on the people not saying excuse me in the crowd. The number is far too high. On the other hand, I've also had some great experiences recently that have shown me PLUR is still alive, like last year when I went to Project Glow alone and was adopted into a really sweet rave fam. Love it. All that being said, I think that Pandora's box has been opened through the growth of our community, and it's impossible to close. I think that's on us as members of the community to take opportunities to educate new people rather than isolate or fight back. In this situation with my gloves and pashmina, I took the chance to give that guy a light show, so hopefully he could learn about a new part of the community despite his condescending attitude. We can tell people to say excuse me, we can give them candy, and we can show them the values of PLUR through our actions. At the end of the day, the rave community is in some ways a microcosm of the real world. There is good and bad everywhere, but all we can do as individuals is be the best little ravers we can be and spread PLUR whenever we can. With love and good vibes, Peter. So well said. We're going to end it on that note. That was so well said. Thank you, Peter, for writing that in. So you guys, I want to open it up to you. What do you guys think about PLUR? Where do you think we're at right now in this community, in this industry? How do you feel about it? Like, definitely chime in the comments, and I want to hear your stories as well. I want to bring these episodes back more. This feels really, really good just to do a solo episode, just sharing our thoughts and opinions and talking about certain topics. Like I said, I'm going to be bringing back the episode talking about personal relationships and navigating it when your partner doesn't rave or do festivals. But yeah, I want to hear your feedback on this episode, guys. I really feel strongly about PLUR in this community and leading by example, and I think a lot of that just happens with interactions in person, but it also is the way you treat people online. So that's a really, really big thing. So go out there and do your best this week, you guys. Try and put a little bit of kindness into your life this week. Treat others with respect. As my mom always said to me, treat other people the way you want to be treated. If you enjoyed today's episode, a couple ways you can support us, of course, definitely try out our sponsor Keen. That will be linked down below. You can connect with us and come join our communities. That is an amazing way to get to know everyone. We are at Rave Culture Cast on all platforms. We've got Facebook group, Discord, all of the things. Come connect with us and say hi. I will be at Okeechobee, so I don't know if this episode is out before or after that, but if it is out before it, I hope to see you guys at Okeechobee this year. We'll be doing a meetup for sure, so I would love to see you guys out there. Thank you so much for sharing the word on Rave Culture Cast. Tell a friend today, share a link, do all the things. And I will be back next Wednesday with a new episode. Thanks, guys. Have a good week. Bye.